We leave the cafe at close to 5 in the morning. Betsy waves, gets in her father's car, and is driven away. We say good night, or good morning, to ZG and Tommy and hail a rickshaw. Once again, we change rickshaws at the border between the French concession and the international settlement. And then we clatter down the cobblestones the rest of the way home. The city, like a great sea, has never gone to sleep. The night ebbs, and now the morning cycles and rhythms begin to flow. Night soil men push their carts down the alleyways, calling, "Empty your night stool! Here comes the night soil man! Empty your night soil!" Shanghai may have been one of the first cities to have electricity, gas, telephones, and running water, but we lag behind in sewage removal. Nevertheless, farmers around the country pay premium prices for our night soil because it's known to be rich from our diets. The night soil men will be followed by the morning food vendors with their porridges made from the seeds of Job's tears, apricot kernels, and lotus seeds, their steamed rice cakes made with ragusa rose and white sugar, and their eggs stewed in tea leaves and five spice. We reach home and pay the rickshaw boy. We lift the latch to the gate and make our way up the path to the front door. The lingering night dampness magnifies the scent of flowers, shrubs, trees, and near raises. We climb the stone steps and pass under carved wooden screens that prevent evil spirits from entering the house, in deference to Mama's superstitions. Our heels sound loud as they hit the parquet floor in the entry. A light is on in the salon to the left. Baba is awake and waiting for us. "Sit down and don't speak," he says, motioning to the settee directly across from him. I do as I'm told. I fold my hands in my lap and cross my ankles. If we're in trouble, looking demure will help. The anxious look he'd been wearing these past few weeks has turned into something hard and immobile. The words he next speaks change my life forever. "I've arranged marriages for the two of you," he says. "The ceremony will take place tomorrow." Hey friends, it's me, the Ebony Otaku, a thankful Ebony Otaku, the well-rounded nerd. I'm going back into more stories that make me thankful, and I'm diving again into women's stories that come out of our Eastern world. I've shared it many times, but I find the stories that come out of our Asian Pacific countries particularly fascinating because it is a world apart from how I was raised, but then there are so many struggles and commonalities between continents. It's interesting to see how challenges that on the base level are very similar translated in other cultures. You know, there's always hardship, it's just what version of hardship was there. And these stories in particular make me grateful for the place and time I was born. It's like the closer we get to modern times with these kinds of stories, the more thankful I get that I was born in 1982. The end of it, but still 1982. And born where I was born. You know, I am a woman who is, you know, I think, am I middle aged yet? No, I don't think I'm middle aged till I'm 50, but I'm getting there. You know, in America. I was born at a time where I'm fortunate enough to be able to make my own path in this world and choose what I want to do, what I want to be, what I want to be interested in. If I want to be more educated, I get to make those choices. And I like to come back to these kinds of stories because they make me grateful for what others sacrificed for me to have what I have today. So today we're diving into Shanghai Girls by Lisa C. And it's just when I first saw the book in the bookstore, honestly, the cover is what got my attention. And I'll be honest, my frock today is just purely coincidental. I have a lot of this style dress. It happens to look really good on me. And during my work hours, I tend to wear this style because it covers nicely. It's very elegant with the earrings. So I don't have to worry about a necklace. Like it's good. This is a good work look because I'm on camera all day for my job. So she got to be good from here up. And it's a lovely silhouette. If you've never worn a Qipao or a Cheongsam, highly recommend. You got to find your size. You know, they're all styled differently, but yeah, I highly recommend. But she is also the author of Snowflower and the Secret Fan, which I reference often when I read these kinds of books. She has a follow-up book to this one called Dreams of Joy. And I, of course, would highly recommend you investigate all of Lisa C's works. Anytime she publishes a book, I'm there to get it. I've got everything she wrote, and if she writes more, I'm gonna get that too, because she writes a beautiful story. That lady Tan, Circle of Women, my God, today, I I want to read that book again, but there's a part, 3/4 of the way through the book, you'll know when you get there that you're just going to be like, oh God, did I just read what I think I read? You did. But this is a story that I read some years ago, and I've actually read this book multiple times. People always comment on the state of my books, that they look worn. They are. They've been through the warp and back, because I love my books. I love reading. I love the tactile of a book. That's how I am. But this is a story that made me thankful. And I ended up reading this book twice through when I first purchased it, because the story was just so different. So we are talking about two sisters in this book, Shanghai Girls. These are the girls of Shanghai. If you don't know, back in the 30s, and this is still when the British had a hold on Shanghai, but way back in the day, they called Shanghai the Paris of Asia, of China. It was that amazing of a city. Not that we're comparing Paris and Shanghai, but familiarity helps us understand. It's like, oh, everything tastes like chicken. It's one of those kinds of things. We're not saying one city is better than another, but Shanghai was it. That's why so many people, post Opium War, who were not Chinese, were moving to China. When you look at cultures out of like Japan and China, and then you juxtapose them against Western cultures, they are so different in how we show up in society, and there's an allure there. That's why I feel like we keep trading offspring. Like all the children from the East want to come to the West, and all the kids from the West want to go to the East, because it's so different. While we have the same basic needs and expectations, the way that develops in society and shows up and how we're allowed to behave, that's very different. And that's why these kinds of stories are so interesting. Our central characters here are two sisters, Pearl and Grace, and they are both beauties, Shanghai Girls. They are daughters of a man who has made it. When you read the first chapter, you're going to hear the trappings of we've made it in Shanghai. We have done our thing. Our father is the goat. Because he's the goat, we get to go out and be women of society. That's not unfamiliar. We know of society women. I actually know a couple of ladies who in modern day, they had debutantes balls when they turned 16. That kind of money. Yeah, I know. And I didn't have a debutante ball. My family didn't come from that kind of money. But they did. I'm like, good on you, sister. But that level of society where your job is to be cute and party, most of us will never know what that's like. I mean, I had my party days, but I paid for them. It wasn't anybody else's money. I had my 20s, and I partied. But it was just my money. It wasn't everyone else's. And Pearl and Grace, they're exactly what they should be. Their father is rich. Their mother gets to sit at home and be a mom. They have servants. They even talk about one of their servants, the cook. He has this fingernail that's like long, crazy long. And what he does with his long fingernail is he will carve like a little statue out of the butter with his long fingernails. But it's a sign of, I am the head chef, and I have all these cooks and stuff under me, so I can afford to grow this long fingernail. If you didn't know, when you look at the women of these different dynasties, why they have the long fingernails with the guards, long fingernails were a sign of breeding. You were too good to do actual work. That's why your fingernails got that long, and that's why you had to protect them with those beautiful guards. So it's it's a means of trapping. We're not talking about that today, but you get what I'm saying. It's like Your hands are useless when you're rich. Why do I need to be able to do other stuff? And working in a high class family was a source of status even for the servants in their house. So even their servants are blessed because of the father's status. The girls are blessed to be flighty Shanghai girls, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's so easy to look at how people are living and say, well, that's not what I do. If I was in that position, you don't know what you'd do because you're not in that position. I don't know what I'd do if I had well, if I had the lottery, this is what I would have done. You know what history says? History says that everybody who wins the lottery go broke. That's what it says. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm so much better that if I got $700 million tomorrow, that I would have it the day after tomorrow. The best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. I'm not the one who decided that. But there's no judgment on these girls. They're just being young ladies in the time they were born in, having fun. They go out all night. They go to the tea houses. They got boyfriends. You know, they're enjoying being young. And that's how the book brings you in. That's how Lisa C. introduces them. Look at these young, vibrant, beautiful women who have their whole futures ahead of them, and they're living in a version of China where, at least as far as women are concerned, they have the most choice available to them as women have ever had in Chinese history. Y'all know what's coming. I said this was in the 30s. Y'all know what happens in the 30s and 40s. This is pre and during the Communist Revolution in China, where society completely turns over on itself. If you don't know a lot about the setup of the Chinese household, and I'm no expert, I'm not Chinese, this is just from what I've read, you know, it is set up in the Confucian style. And Confucius gave instructions for how everyone should show up in the family. Father does this, mother does this, concubine does this, wife, oldest son does this, second son, third son, first daughter, second daughter, third daughter. Everybody has a role, everyone has a function, you go do what you were intended to do. When communism came in, it kind of out the door with all of that and said, no, everybody works for the state now. That is a really, really tight nutshell. I wrap that in, but that's the gist. But this is a way of life. China has one of our oldest, longest running dynasties that's ever existed. There are some others that are getting close, but China, one of the longest contiguous dynasty that we know of. Bloodline, just poof, 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 dynasties kept coming. And so that's why the culture is so fascinating, because we can see the oldness of the culture. Indian culture is that way as well. With the Maharajas going way back, they can trace their bloodlines for hundreds of years. I can't. But that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about culture that is beyond ingrained. It is in their blood. It is in everything that they are. It oozes out of their pores, their culture. So these girls have arrived at a point in the culture where some things have changed, where they can wear cute Western clothes, where they can go out without a male chaperone, where they can come home at 5 in the morning, and it's okay. That would have been unheard of 100 years before. That girl would have been thrown out, stoned, who knows what else. But they're living in a time of freedom because the Westerners have taken over Shanghai. It's the Paris of Asia. We're living free and flying high. That is the setting of Shanghai Girls. And not a couple chapters in, it all gets ripped away from them. And this is where I had to start thinking about more stories that make me thankful. These young ladies have no idea that the life they're living is a facade. They don't know that their father has failed in his businesses, that he's gambled the fortune away, that he owes powerful, dangerous men money. And even though they live in this Ford city that has electricity and gas, that they have the latest fashions and young men lined up to marry these girls because they're the girls of wealth and beauty, that even though they have the illusion of choice, that they are still daughters, that the old ways of living run through their parents' veins, and that when put in a corner, some of those old ways that they can prove useful come back. And in this case, they come back as, I have 2 daughters. will you take my daughters as payment for my debts? If he had had sons, I don't know what would have happened, but he didn't. This man had daughters. He chose to make use of his daughters as trading cards. That's probably why he allowed them so much freedom as they got older, because he knew he was gambling away the wealth. He knew he was going to suck their lives away one day. So he let them be as free as they wanted to be, because that was going to change. He sells his daughters to be wives to strangers in America. Can you imagine? I cannot fathom if my father had come to me one day and said, "Daughter," my father wasn't British, but he said, "Daughter, there's a man in England who wants to marry you tomorrow." There would have been a fight. That is exactly how the fight would have started. I can't conceive of such a thing. I know arranged marriage still exists today. This is beyond arranged marriage. This is literally selling his girls because he screwed up. He messed everything up. I am thankful that I was born in 1982. And not just when I was born, but where I was born. I'm thankful that I have agency over my life. I'm thankful that choice is not an illusion. I'm thankful that I can sit here and share these amazing stories with you. But I'm also thankful that Lisa C. didn't give us a half story. I told you this is happening pre and during the Communist Revolution in China. This first book, Shanghai Girls, is pre. The follow-up book, Dreams of Joy, is during. And it is an amazing tale. It is about the journey of these women and how they are forced to grow up in ways they never thought they'd have to, being sold off to be wives to strangers, and how they survived and eventually thrived in overwhelming circumstances. This is why good historical fiction is so precious to me. It is that safety layer that lets us look at, talk about deep issues through the filter of fiction. Speaking of, let's pick up their story, shall we? I know you're interested. Am I going to read the whole book? No. I'm not trying to get a copyright strike. But what I do want to do is just make it just a little more tantalizing for you to get to the story. Reading from Shanghai Girls by Lisa C. Gold Mountain Men. That's not funny. May laughs lightly. I'm not joking, Baba says. I've arranged marriages for you. I'm still having trouble absorbing what he said. What's wrong? Is Mama ill? I already told you, Pearl. You need to listen, and you're going to do as I say. I'm the father, and you're my daughters. This is how things are. I wish I could convey how absurd he sounds. I won't do it, May cries indignantly. I try reason. Those feudal days are over. It's not like when you and Mama married. Your mother and I were married in the second year of the Republic, he says huffily, but that's hardly the point. Yours was an arranged marriage, nevertheless, I countered. Have you been answering inquiries from a matchmaker about our knitting, sewing, and embroidery skills? Ridicule creeps into my voice. For my dowry, have you bought me a night stool painted with dragon and phoenix motifs to symbolize my perfect union? Will you give May a night stool filled with her red eggs to send her to her in-laws the message that she will have many sons? Say what you want. Baba shrugs indifferently. You're getting married. I won't do it, May repeats. She's always been good with tears, and she lets them flow now. You can't make me. When Baba ignores her, I understood just how serious this is. He looks at me. And it's tough seeing me for the first time. Don't tell me you thought you were going to marry for love. His voice was oddly cruel and triumphant. No one marries for love. I didn't. I hear a deep intake of breath, turn, and see my mother still dressed in her pajamas, standing in the doorway. We watch as she sways across the room on her bound feet and sinks into a carved pear wood chair. She clasps her hands and looks down. After a moment, tears fall into her folded hands. No one speaks. I sit up straight as I can, so I can look down at my father, knowing he'll hate that. Then I take May's hand. We're strong together, and we have our investments. I speak for both of us when I respectfully ask for the money you've put away for us. A grimace passes over my father's face. We're old enough now to be on our own, I continue. May and I will get an apartment. We'll earn our own way. We plan to determine our own futures. As I speak, May nods and smiles at Baba, but she's not her usual pretty self. Her tears have turned her face splotchy and swollen. I don't want you girls to be on your own like that. Mama finds the courage to whisper. It's not going to happen anyway, Baba says. There's no money. Not yours, not mine. Again, stunned with silence, my sister and mother leave it to me to ask, what have you done? In his desperation, Baba blames us for his problems. Your mother goes visiting and plays games with her friends. The two of you spend. None of you see what's happening right under your noses. He's right. Just last night, I thought that a kind of shabbiness had settled over our house. I'd wondered about the chandelier, the wall sconces, the fan, and where are our servants? Where are Pansy, Ah Fong, and I dismissed them? They're all gone, except for the gardener and the cook. Of course he wouldn't let them go. The garden would die quickly, and our neighbors would know something was wrong. We need a cook. Mama only knows how to supervise. May and I don't know how to make a single thing. We've never worried about it. We've never expected that skill would come in necessary. But the houseboy, Baba's valet, the two maids, and cook's helper, how could Baba hurt so many? Did you lose it gambling? Win it back? For God's sake! I spit out. You always do. My father may have a public reputation as an important man, but I've always seen him as ineffectual and harmless. The way he looks at me now, I see him stripped to his core. How bad is it? I'm angry. How could I not be? But I feel a creeping sense of pity for my father, and more important, for my mother. What will happen to them? What will happen to all of us? His head lowers. The house, the rickshaw business, your investments, what little savings I had, everything is gone. After a long while, he looks back up at me, his eyes filled with hopelessness, misery, and pleading. There are no happy endings, Mama says. It's as if all of her dour predictions have finally come to pass. You can't fight fate. Baba ignores Mama and appeals to my sense of filial piety and my duty as the elder daughter. Do You want your mother begging on the street? And what about the two of you? As beautiful girls, you're ready. You're already this close to becoming girls with 3 holes. The only question that remains is, will you be kept by one man, or fall as low as whores who apply Blood Alley looking for foreign sailors? Which future do you want? I'm educated, but what skills do I have? I teach English to a Japanese captain 3 mornings a week. May and I sit for artists, but our earnings don't begin to cover the cost of our dresses, hats, gloves, and shoes. I don't want any of us to become beggars, and I certainly don't want May and me to become prostitutes. Whatever happens, I need to protect my sister. Who are the grooms? I ask. Can we meet them first? May's eyes widen. It's against tradition, Baba says. I won't marry someone unless I meet him first, I insist. You can't think I'll do it. May says the words, but her voice tells us she's given in. We may look and act modern in many ways, but we can't escape what we are. Obedient Chinese daughters. They are Gold Mountain men, Baba says. Americans. They've traveled to China to find brides. It's good news, really. Their father's family comes from the same district as ours. We're practically related. You don't have to go back to Los Angeles with your husbands. American Chinese are happy to leave their wives here in China to care for their parents and ancestors so they can return to their blonde, low-fun mistresses in America. Consider this merely a business deal that will save our family. But if you decide to go with your husbands, you'll have a beautiful house, servants to do the cleaning and washing, amas to care for your children. You'll live in Hollywood. I know you girls love movies. You like it, May. You really like it. Hollywood. Just think of it. But we don't know them, May shouts at him. But you've met their father, Baba responds evenly. You know, old man Louis. May's lips twist in revulsion. We have indeed met the father. I've never liked Mama's old-fashioned use of titles, but to May and me, as the wiry, stern-faced foreign Chinese had always been, old man Louis. As Baba said, he lived in Los Angeles, but he comes to Shanghai every year or so to look on the business he maintains here. He owns a factory that makes rattan furniture and other for cheap porcelain ware export. But I don't care how rich he is. I never liked the way old man Louis looks at May and me, like he's a cat licking us up. I don't mind for myself, I can take it. But May was only 16 the last time he came to town. He shouldn't have drunk her in like that at his age, which had to be in his mid-60s at least. But Baba never said a word. Just asked May to pour more tea. And then it hits me. Did you lose everything to old man Louis? Not exactly. Then to whom? These things are always hard to say. Baba taps his fingers on the table and glances away. I lost a little here and there. I am sure you did to have lost May's and my money too. That must have taken you months, maybe even years. Pearl. My mother tries to stop me from saying anything more, but deep rage roars out of me. This loss had to be something very, big, something that would threaten all of this? I motioned to the room of furniture, the house, everything my father had built for us. What exactly is your debt, and how are you paying it back? May stops crying. My mother remains silent. I lost to old man Louis, Baba grudgingly admits at last. He'll let your mother and me stay in the house if May marries the younger son and you marry the older son. We'll have a roof to sleep under and something to eat until I can get work. You, our daughters, are our only capital. May covers her mouth with the back of her hand, stands, and runs from the room. Tell your sister I will set up a meeting for this afternoon. Baba acquiesces. And be grateful I arranged marriages to a pair of brothers. We'll always be together. Now go upstairs. Your mother and I have much to discuss. Outside the window, the breakfast sellers have moved on and been replaced by a stream of peddlers. Their voices sing to us, enticing us, tempting us. Pooh, pooh, pooh. Read root to brighten your eyes. Give to baby, and he will be free from all summer rashes. Ho, ho, ho. Let me shave your face, trim your hair, cut your nails. Ah, wah, ah, ah, wah, ah. Come out and sell your junk. Foreign bottles and broken glass exchanged for matches. I hope that was enough to entice you to pick this book up. And of course the second book. I only got that far in. I only read a few pages. We all have different circumstances. And at this time of year, especially during the holidays, so many people are reflecting, thinking, I wish I had this family situation. I miss this person. These people are no longer with me. And all of that is true. We all wish, hope that the families we were born into would always be loving, would always be protective, would always put us first. But everything we have, every construct, every connection, every organization, every social structure is human. And humans are subject to fail. And this old man fails his daughters. He fails his wife. He fails everyone employed to him. And his failure cascades into interrupting, no, dismantling the futures of his daughters. They did nothing to earn this. They were simply growing up the way they were raised. But they're still obedient Chinese daughters. And if the old ways demand that they show up for their family, then they must show up for their family. There is no other option. I'm grateful for stories like this because there are so many paths our lives could take. I have family I wish I was going to connect with this holiday season, and I'm not. Probably never again in my life. I have people I love that are no longer here. Hopefully I see them again in heaven. I have friends that are no longer friends. There are people that I've lost connection with over the years. We all have those stories, and your feelings about those stories are valid. But can I invite you to take some time to look at stories like this and take a moment to say, well, there's that, and there's this. And for what it's worth, I'm grateful for what I have. Because as you read these two stories, Shanghai Girls and Dreams of Joy, you will see women and men become extraordinarily resilient in the most oppressive of circumstances. Yeah, these girls are going off to husbands they don't want, but you know what? Them sons are getting wives they didn't ask for. Okay, it goes both ways. It's a two-edged sword. But how they navigate, how they become family, the things you uncover, the lengths they go to for one another. Dreams of Joy? Oh, I'm not going to spoil it. You need to go get it. What these mothers do when they become mothers for their daughter, it's amazing. because we all will have a lowest point of our lives. But if you woke up on this side of the grave, if your name was not in the obituaries today, you have another chance. We can take the hardest of circumstances and still grow roses from the ashes. Highly recommend you check out anything Lisa C. writes. She is one of my favorite modern authors. I will put her right up there with Amy Tan, 100%. She is amazing. Her, An Chi Min, Shan Sa, amazing authors who write stories that go straight to the heart. Gail Tsukiyama is another one. You will not be disappointed. So, this is another one of these stories that make me thankful. I've got one more of these that will come out this month. I hope you've been enjoying them. And it's holiday season. We gotta think about these things, right? And yes, I have way many more of these dresses. Maybe I'll wear a different one next time. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.